Hi all, Old Geek here, back from deepest, darkest Wales. And here's the final video in my series on placing the MERP supplements on the map of Middle-earth. And this one is Oddities and a region barely touched by Tolkien. It's also an excuse for me to show off two of my most prized RPG possessions. Yep, there's self-indulgence incoming. So let's get the smugness out of the way, and what's that you see? A map of all of Northwestern Middle-earth? Yep, this is the setting for the epic 4th Age super campaign, Palantir Quest. That one there. Which takes in Minas Tirith, Bree, Tharbad, Foreshell, Mirkwood. In fact, pretty much everywhere. I've yet to attempt to run this for two reasons. Firstly, I was scared to even try, but having now managed to digest and run Horror on the Orient Express for Call of Cthulhu, that fear has gone. The second reason, though, is that it's not for new characters. I believe it suggests characters are around level 4 at the start of it. And the group that I tried MERP with was so abysmally bad at surviving that they never got a character even to level 2. I don't mind creating characters at higher levels for one-shots, such as Tomb of Horrors, but for a campaign game, especially one as beefy as Palantir Quest, no, that's not going to happen. I do see some ridiculously greedy people trying to sell this one on eBay for around £300, or the dollar equivalent, about $400. YouTube would block me if I was to fully articulate what I think of them. I've seen it sell for about 20% of that amount. It's not a product for the beginner though, but it is beautiful, and it would look wonderful in any RPG collection. The next bit of self-indulgence is this one. The Kinstrife, which covers pretty much all of Gondor and some of the lands to the south of it. While this is billed as an adventure, with the idea that the party experienced the catastrophic quarrelling and backstabbing that tore Gondor apart in the 15th century of the Third Age, I view it more as a sourcebook. It's massive, over 200 pages, and as you would expect from the MERP line, the level of pure love and attention to detail is insane. Its price tag is too, though, and it rarely appears for under 3 figures in either dollars or pounds. That's one reason that I cherish my own mint condition copy. Okay, with those monsters out of the way, let's move on to the main body of this video, and that is the placing of the last batch of MERP supplements onto their relevant regional map. And it's this one, the Deep South, covering a massive area. I'm going to kick off with the jewel of this region, an excellent campaign guide in the form of Greater Harad. It's one of Ice's best. Yes, it's a region that many might not be interested in, and that's a shame, because this is a lesson in how to produce an inspiring and informative game supplement. Not so engaging though is the next one, Farharad, the Scorched Land. This one was published in 1988, 2 years before the Greater Harad book came out in 1990, and it feels somewhat less substantial. I do think that they learnt perhaps from the mistakes of this one with the later book. A better supplement for the far south of Middle-earth was 1988's Shadow in the South. While Farharad felt a little generic and unspectacular, Shadow in the South does not. It's a more faithful development of the somewhat sparse original source material for these lands. But for those wishing to start a game of MERP, it's probably not ideal, due to its lack of adventure support and the simple fact that it's set so far away from the familiar locations in the novels. A slightly more attractive location could be Umbar, Haven of the Corsairs, which of course had plenty of mentions in The Lord of the Rings. But this was published way back in 1982. It lacks the polish of later products, and while it's absolutely packed with information, it is hard work, much like the other very early supplements. The emphasis leans heavily on the GM coming up with the adventure ideas. The supplement just gives you the crunch, the numbers, the details. It's great when you're well into the game system and the setting, but it's not ideal when you're setting out. Plus it is old. It's hard to get hold of, and thus it is rather expensive. All the same criticisms can most likely be levelled at the next supplement, the Court of Ardor in southern Middle-earth. And to add to those, just look at its location. This was the third Middle-earth related product that ICE made, and it predated the MERP game. Maybe they were testing the water at this time, waiting to commit to a more familiar setting or more familiar subject material. I don't know if I'm being fair with this assessment though, as I don't have this one, but it doesn't interest me, and its price tag puts me off even further. I respect these older modules for their immense detail, but the ones from pre-1984 that I do have, I find awkward to use. I prefer to stick to the more user-friendly products from the later 80s and the 2nd edition era. As has been customary, I'll now drop a Fortresses product on the map and tell you not to bother with it. This one is Nazgul's Citadel, but the reason for avoiding it is not the same as with most of the others from the Fortresses line. This one is far from superfluous. It's just not a place in which to start. It's beefy, it's over 100 pages, and it details the home of one of the 9 and his army. So, ideal for beginners? Nope. Let's now finish with 3 supplements that focus on scenarios. These are from the Adventure Modules line. And the first of these is Forest of Tears. It's a nightmarish collection of scenarios set in the rainforests of Suza Sumar. Though I've yet to run any of them, I've read the scenarios and I rather like them, but unfortunately they link with the Farharad regional guide, which, as I've already said, is probably the weakest of the setting guides for this map. In fact, the same can be said for both of the other 2 adventure modules, Hazards of the Harad Wood and Warlords of the Desert. I will admit that I know little about these beyond their location, but it is Farharad again. So this video is a little shorter than the previous ones in this series, and here's the finished map. And this map frustrates me. Both Greater Harad and Shadows in the South are excellent guides, they are excellent products, and yet they were entirely ignored in terms of adventure scenarios, which beggars belief. Even Umbar, the land of the Corsairs, has no scenario support. It's such a shame. That means all of these supplements are for hardcore MERP fans and collectors, in all honesty. So if you fancy giving MERP a try, don't bother with any of these. I do hope you have enjoyed this series. It doesn't get as many views as my AD&D and other forms of D&D related videos, unfortunately. And if you've not seen any of parts 1, 2 or 3 from my MERP series of Placing the Adventures, then they are in my MERP playlist. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe in order to support my channel. See ya!